Mr. Reggy
Andreas.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to meet you again.
Thanks so
at
much.
Your home,
Happy
your place at the Mafra factory.
Happy to have you here. Very much.
Are
happy.
you?
Very happy.
I'm not sure yet if I'm happy to be here. I'm a little bit shaky.
This is the one.
This is one. This will
one.
get us in real trouble, legal trouble probably.
Yeah, we have spent too much time talking about it offline, so
Yes.
it's time to put
Yes,
some visuals on it and
absolutely,
discuss this.
because it is a current pressing issue that is still developing. So maybe we need to do another one in a few weeks' time. And without talking around it, it is the Cerakote disaster.
Yeah, to say the least.
Yeah, so to give the viewers and the listeners who did not follow it from the beginning a little bit of context, I will quickly glaze over what happened, or at least what was observable.
Please do.
And then we will talk about what we think about it. It all started with a video. No, let's start at the beginning. Cerakote. Cerakote is a coating company, surface coating company from the US. I think they came from industrial coatings, weapons coatings, for example, where they did surface coating things. And then a few years ago, they built an additional facility in order to go into the, I think, polymer dispersion coating things as well. They had car care related products before. They had, for example, the Cerakote trim coat. Those were those small white towels almost, which are dispersed in some sort of a ceramic liquid, and then you take it out of a bag and apply it. I actually, before we start that, I love that product because I have had that on one of my cars for now 2 years, and you still see the darkening effect. The hydrophobics are gone, but the darkening effect is still visible.
Wow.
I actually like that product, and I think that's a good product because you get a box with like 10 of those sachets. Very, very good, very cheap.
Yeah, very easy
I
to
like
use.
that. I wouldn't say foolproof because the funny thing is the American videos and YouTubers say you apply it and then leave it. I think it leaves too much gloss. It gets really glossy. If you apply it and leave it on for too long and then try to wipe it off, it gets very grabby. That does not work. The best way to apply it, which is against their recommendations and everything I saw, but my way of it is applying it and then wiping it immediately after. Then you get a really nice, natural satin effect on it. That's how I use it.
Yeah, we have the market divided in two people. The gloss people, the natural look. the matte
Probably,
look.
yeah. But durability-wise, performance-wise, fantastic product. They also have a trim coating kit, I think. They have a paint. They had a paint sealant, or still have it. That product already had some controversy about
headlight
it.
restorations?
Sorry?
A headlight restoration kit they have as well?
I don't know if it's a whole restoration kit or just the coating. I'm not sure. I think it's just the coating. Then that paint sealant already got, let's say, mixed reviews. And then a few weeks ago, month ago, they released a new ceramic coating. And it all started with a video where Pan the Organizer, huge, large YouTube channel from Canada, I think he is, almost 1 million subscribers. He visited the Cerakote factory and introduced their new ceramic coating with, let's call them bold statements, like it's an industry disruptive coating. There were claims in that video, like, for example, all or almost all or many of the other coating brands are buying the raw ingredients from them, from Cerakote, and then put them in their ceramic coatings, but they water them down so the consumers don't get the full performance. And now, Cerakote has said they don't want that. They want to give the consumer the maximum available performance for the least amount of money. So that bottle, that small Cerakote ceramic coating bottle, costs $30. And they said industry disruptive. That video was done. I already was very, very critical about that video alone, but we'll talk about that later. Then there was silence for a few months, and then started to pop up critical videos about it. Mainly, I think one chemical stress test by another US channel. I think it was called the Auto Detailing Podcast. It was online for a few days and then was taken down. without any notice by the creator of that channel. Why? Some assumed he was forced to do it, maybe with legal pressure by Cerakote. But that video disappeared because the Cerakote coating did not fare well with those chemical resistance tests. Shortly after that, there was another video with Josh IMV.
Josh V, yeah.
Another very big YouTube channel where he interviewed the CEO from Cerakote with some of the accusations there were in the room. Then there was another podcast with, I think, 5 YouTubers.
I remember that one.
The funny thing is, Reggie knows some of them personally.
Yes, that's when I started getting into the story. Yeah. So I did not see the factory visit or the Josh V one, but I saw the one where Eddie was hosting. Eddie Cole and EC Details. Shout out to Eddie. Josh V was in there, Eddie was in there, SOC Detailing Made Simple was in there, and Pan the Organizer was in there. Yeah, exactly.
They were discussing for quite a long time issues they and others experienced with the coating. Mainly that it seemed to have issues with durability, where some parts of the car where it was applied to, it disappeared, or the hydrophobics disappeared after 2 weeks. They didn't say that the hydrophobics disappeared. They called it...
Turned into sheeting.
The hydrophobics changed from beading to sheeting, which is a very nice way of saying the coating is dead there, just between us. And then the final one was an interview, again in video form, with the CEO of Cerakote and Pan the Organizer. That was the latest one. Today is the 11th of January 2024. That was a few days ago, so maybe there will be some future developments, but that's the last one we saw. And that was the video that got me enraged. Well, because of some things that happened in that video.
True.
So Pan somewhat, let's say, presented some of the accusations to the CEO, which was already very strange. And they had a long talk about it. They tried to explain what could have been happening from a technical side, why some of those observations are. But we will talk about all of that in this podcast now. Yes. So that's the story, as short as we can tell it until now. So, yeah. Reggie, why is this whole situation worth to talk about for you?
Well, from the manufacturer's point of view, I have to be honest that many people have heard me say last year that with the new generations that we are releasing, that I also made statements like...
Generations of coatings.
Yes, our next generation. There's a different type of philosophy, different approach. I've seen the words coming out of my mouth often where we are going to break the ceramic world. And I was in the middle of testing, and I'll tell you honest, what I'm experiencing right now with a certain combination of a certain ceramic that has been produced or being developed by us right now, is that I now have a ceramic that is too hydrophobic. That too hydrophobic might say, no, but you have the most perfect beads. That is true, but we have to make a difference between a contact angle and a roll-off angle. And what this beading is going to do is that if people are now using forced air to dry the car, and the car is above ambient, so let's say 22 degrees Celsius, the droplets that are going to fly to the end are going to break up into even smaller droplets.
Oh, wow.
And that are going to dry in immediately. And I know this from a fact. I have done this by myself. It's even achieved by some of the other ceramic coatings while I was driving inside of the sun. And during the drying phase, the droplet literally started to dry in at the end and split up in even more.
Okay.
So too hydrophobic. So we had to rephrase. Marco literally kicked my ass about this, and he said, listen, we have to be careful with what we state.
Marco is the CEO of Mafra.
Yeah, and I will state that from this point of view, my New Year's resolution is to not hype you guys up with something that might or may not come, or to only release something until we are 1,000% for sure, because I'm not going to point fingers to Cerakote, but I'm going to take a huge lesson of what happened, because stating certain things, because if we are talking, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about a ceramic coating that has a retail cost of $30. And the backlash that's coming from a product that is $30 is absolutely insane.
It's
frightening. It's frightening.
Maybe to be a little bit more careful about that, maybe we feel that backlash because of the videos we watch and the reach those videos have. Maybe and that's something you can observe a lot of times. Maybe it's not actually a backlash. It's just a perceived online social media bubble in which we are in backlash. Maybe.
Let's say that I watched a couple of the original videos where they were applying, and I'll take SOC Detailing Made Simple's video, where in the comments people said, yeah, you didn't shake the bottle every single time you applied it. You did not use enough curing. There were so many things that he was getting blamed for, even though I'm assuming that he's following the instructions made by the factory. That there was so many, you have to shake it, you have to tilt it, you have to lay it, you have to wipe it, you have to cross-hatch double, you only cross-hatched once. So all these minute details. But if it was then such an issue as the CEO stated that it was a curing issue, then the hood should also not perform. And there were certain areas where the coating was performing and certain areas where it was not performing.
Yeah, and let's maybe start talking about those two things.
Later.
Those accusations that the application was not done right. For a start, we are not talking about inexperienced weekend warriors. They are real detailers, right?
They get paid for what they do.
Exactly.
I mean, as a professional detailer, so
I'm not saying that every professional detailer is an expert and every professional detailer is perfect and no professional detailer does never mistakes. I'm not saying that, but we can assume they know what they do. They at least know that they need to follow the instructions. And if a ceramic coating, that's my personal opinion, is that delicate to the application method where they say you need to shake it every time before you drop a few droplets on the applicator, where you need to do that and that amount of crosshatch patterns, or you don't need to do crosshatch patterns, you need to do circular motions. If that happens to coating, then there's already a big flaw in the coating itself, when it's that delicate to the application.
But those guys were all unanimously agreed with each other that the application was super easy. There was no stress. The amount of product they used was not over-exaggerated, and the gloss was insane. That's something that was concluded by all five of them. 100%.
That Cerakote seems to have gotten right. They have an easy-to-use, quick-to-use, quick-curing coating. There was already one thing regarding that coating that got me thinking, because they say it does not have the typical rainbow effect when it flashes on the paint. It starts to beat up, right? And that, I only know one other coating that does that. It's G&Mo's Evo. I know that coating. It is very easy and forgiving to apply, except for it being quick flashing. I think they are somewhat similar.
Yeah, because as I remember, and I have to be careful, of course, because you can always watch the video back from Ben and the CEO of Cerakote. But the curing issue has been addressed many times in that video. There's also been addressed that there is, of course, the vast majority of people that are very satisfied with the product.
That was repeated a lot of times.
And there has been huge sales, and feedback from the samples were also good. But if there is a mistake, and I will take us as an example, by the time we were producing Blindo, we had a 2% batch failure rate, and that we could not find. That concluded in the end that we had to rechange the formula of Blindo to make sure that we had a 100% batch success rate. And that created Blindo Plus. And we will be the first one to state that something went wrong. So we had to reimburse the people that were negative by this, because the detailer, expensive ceramics are only being bought when there's a job coming in or when the job's already in. So by the time he opens up the box, he's ready for coating, and if the coating inside has been catalyzed and turned into full-blown glass, you have an issue. You have to call the customer, you have to wait for new ceramic. So we understand not only from a manufacturer's point of view, that in the real world where the person was actually applying the product was a double a nightmare. So that resulted in us admitting the fault and saying there's room for improvement. That's why we revised the formula. And what I did miss from the CEO is that he stated, okay, what is the curing issue? What then could cause the curing issue? So we know that when you apply ceramic, when it comes in contact with the outside, the oxygen also has a value of catalyzation. When you look at physical ceramic coatings, they stay liquid because of the solvent inside. They need the oxygen, the outside air to start catalyzing.
The humidity,
And the humidity has a factor in making it cure faster or slower, or there's always a little bit of humidity. Condensation, but in the end it should cure, and the curation is mostly the solvent inside. So the more volatile or the more evaporizing the solvent is, the faster it cures. And that is something that should then be seen, like I said, on every part of the car.
Yeah.
Then we will not have a 90% good car with only the parts that have high impact. Because the side is the part where the high impact was. And as I heard Pan say that the top of the door was beating fine and the side of the door was not beating at all and it was turned into sheeting or flattened out or whatever. So the side where the tires is picking up the dirt and everything from the road, slashing it into the car, that area is then affected by that what's been put on the car, and then it has now a curing issue. There is something wrong with the product itself. Because if it's the curing, then everything should be bad.
So what you're saying, if I understand you correctly, is that the argument of it being a curing issue does not count if it is only one area of the car that's affected. If it would be a curing issue, the hydrophobics would turn from beading to sheeting. It's insane that they call that, but on the whole car, not only on that area.
Especially when we look at humidity. If you take a full example. If I put the car outside and we come to the night, the first parts of the car that start to condensate is the hood and the roof and the trunk.
Yeah.
The side is last, but you see in the beginning of the night, you see that's where humidity builds up the most. So if it is a curing issue because of the humidity, the hood should be the one suffering the most. Because it's not like there's 20% of humidity on the left side of the car and the other side of the car where it's 90% humidity. So the ambient room has the same amount of humidity. Yeah. Unless you are a very heavy breather and you start breathing your own vapor against the car, then the humidity of course changes.
So I mean, that's the one major thing we both, when we saw the video, thought, that sounds a bit fishy.
Yeah, you have to state straight to the point what was the problem. Or do you take what we call the penance cloth, the boetekleed, is where you, okay, I made a mistake, I'm taking on the cloth and I'm going to address this as it is. Yeah. We had a faulty batch, we had a wrong ingredient, there's something wrong with catalyzation, but to stay in the vague range and going away from the subject and stating that there are so many success from other detailers, that is true, and you will never have a 100% success rate.
No, of course not.
You will never satisfy everybody, but if too many people, and especially those 5 guys with at least enough experience to say they know what they are doing, state the 5 exact same things in different locations, from wintry Canada to sunny California to wintry San Diego, Pocatello. I don't know where all those guys were from, but there was a lot of different weather circumstances. Nobody stated how much they drove, how much weather conditions they had, but they had the similar, in every single region, you had the similar outcome with the sheeting on the side.
So, in our opinion, it being a curing issue, the cause of the whole thing, is highly unlikely. It sounds more like a durability, mechanical resistance issue.
And the chemical as well. I'm going to put the chemical in there as well. Because what is happening on the side of the car. So people say you don't need stress tests for chemicals. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you, if you have your common road highway, what's leaking out of those cars, classic cars, we have oil, we have brake fluid, cooling liquid, we got fuel types that are leaking on the street, we have trucks that are losing chemicals while they are driving. Rain. We have AdBlue, the ammonia stuff coming from the trucks. There is so much harsh, extremely harsh chemicals, battery acids, mixed with water, slashing to the car. And I can tell you, those chemicals are more harsh than anything that's being used in an automotive industry car wash. Or in the detailing industry. Nobody has these type of aggressive caustic, and I'm not saying high alkaline because we know high alkaline can be 100% safe, but caustic ingredients. And especially when you look at the road salt from the winter and everything in this combination, then there is something wrong. There is something wrong. Chemical stress tests, we have to do them as well. We need to know if a person should wash it with the most caustic soap there is. We need to know how many times can he wash the car with a very abrasive mitt to see when it really starts to die.
And the argument that the CEO by Cerakote brought up, that no one is applying brake fluid or anything else to his car. Yes, that's absolutely true. No one in
his right mind
will do that. However, there is, and I don't say that chemical resistance tests are the perfect way of testing a coating's durability, but they are a very good and very strong indicator for it.
Absolutely. You cannot take scientific proof from it, but you could generate a simulation where you say, I can wash it 50 times before it really starts to diminish. And I'll tell you how we do it. We take one of the most caustic products that we have here, in a dilution of 1 to 20.
Yeah.
And then we wash the car or wash the part of the car, where we use a wool mitt that is very abrasive. It's very strong. And then we test how many times it go. And in between, I'll tell you honestly, it's not that we do it 50 times after each other. No, in between, I spray with Veritas to get rid of surfactants.
I see.
To see if there's anything left.
Your panel wipe?
Or panel wipe, yes. Or we can use any form of alcohol to get rid of surfactants.
Yes.
To just rinse off.
Yeah.
And then check how it's going. So we can then say...
That's a good point.
Yes, but we will state more in the range of, oh, no, it's so extremely chemically resistant. No, we will test that in that range. If somebody uses the most caustic soap, how many times can he wash his car before it starts to die out?
To give you, as a manufacturer, an indicator of how chemically resistant a coating is.
Yeah.
Because fact of the matter is, people will do stupid stuff. The amount of questions we get on our channel, hey, I have ceramic coated or waxed my car, can I use that pre-wash? So people don't understand that when they have coated their cars, they don't need those pre-washes anymore. They just want to use them because they think it gets them the job done quicker.
Yeah.
So people will do stupid stuff with chemicals.
Always, and I do them as well. As we found out how a product works and we know the ideal way to apply it or to use it, then we move to the part where somebody is going to change all the instructions and is going to, instead of making a dilution, pour it pure and start washing it while the product is pure.
Exactly.
These things we do.
Or they start mixing chemicals. Also happens. I have that pre-wash, I have that snow foam, I have that acidic, I just mix them together, and people do stupid stuff. So I don't think chemical resistancy tests are irrelevant.
No, they need to be done to understand what it can take, how many washes it can take with the wrong washing method before it dies. Yes, we could also test the perfect way. Say we do a 3 pH. We might achieve 400 washes. I'm not going to wash a hood 400 times to see that we can achieve it with 3 pH. We already know. We need to know what happens when somebody does not the most optimum shampoo for their car.
Exactly.
And when they are moving, say, okay, you always have to wash with pH neutral. If that were true, you would use pH neutral in your dishwasher. You would use pH neutral in your bathroom to get rid of the lime scaling.
Yeah.
But it chemically does not work like that. A part of alkaline and a part of acid should be inside of a maintenance system of a coating or a sealant or whatever that aids
to keep it going.
To keep it going. And no, beads never last.
Yeah.
It's in the beginning when it's perfect. Every single time it gets hit. So if a sand grain falls onto the car, it literally makes a small dent in the coating. It's boinking off. I'm over-exaggerating that it's not a bouncing ball, but everywhere, especially on the side, there will get little dumps. So the smoothness is going to go away.
Yes.
As soon as the smoothness is going to away, we are going to see slowly but surely that the water behavior is going to change.
Yes, and that part is true. The water behavior is going to change. But the part saying it changes from beading to sheeting, that's the wrong part. Because a product showing sheeting except of beading is saying the hydrophobics are getting worse.
Yeah.
You cannot separate beading from sheeting. Maybe you'll correct me on that. Maybe the lab guys, your lab guys will correct me on that. But what I know, beading and sheeting are not two separate phenomena. They're hydrophobics
Both.
As a whole.
Because if it's hydrophilic, you will not have a clear sheet of water running off.
Exactly.
So it's the speed of the rolling.
So every coating will see over time and overuse a degradation of the initially strong beading. Yes. Yeah. But if I see that after 2 weeks, it's not a change in hydrophobics from beading to sheeting. It just means the hydrophobics are gone or have degraded to a degree where I say the coating is almost gone or dead.
True. I'm happy that the guys that made this together gathering, whether with them 5, they were talking to each other because none of them were starting to point the finger. Everybody was still in the face of, I'm looking in the mirror first, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Before even going. And
absolutely.
During this discussion, they were trying to figure out if, hey, what did you do? What did you do? How did you do it?
Yeah.
And they all came to the conclusion that they were similar in the application, similar in everything, before they even started going, this is insane, we have been ripped off. So the way they approached this was very good.
Very professional.
Absolutely. I have to give them credit for that because many others would just start destroying. The thumbnail will already be a big cross or a skull or whatever. The disappointment of the year, how dare they, and then you get the cancel culture kind of stuff. And
then again, and now we're going to the part which I am personally most critical about, and I have to repeat what I said in the first podcast. I don't hate Pan as a person. I actually think he's a decent human being. I think we would get along together nicely. However, I have to separate the human being, Pan, from the organizer channel and what he does there. And when I saw that interview with the CEO of Cerakote, my jaw dropped. Because if we go back to the original video where I visited that factory, he said, Pan, the organizer, the CEO was not visible in that video. He said, Cerakote is an industry disruptive coating. That's what Pan, the organizer, said. And he created the impression in that video that he is testifying for that coating. He is recommending it based on his own experience. And in the second video, a few months later, he has the balls to say to the CEO, well, maybe your claims were a bit bold regarding industry disruptive. No, that's not what happened. It was not the CEO putting out those claims. And if he was, then Pan, just blindly repeated those claims in the original video. It was Pan that stated this is an industry disruptive coating. And he has the balls to call the CEO out that he said that. That was where my mind was blown. How can you do that?
He took the words from the manufacturer over. And people know this. And this is, there's a certain amount of what we do here with testing before it gets into my hands or Fabio's hands or in our hands. But when I get the ceramic coating that has done its performance inside a laboratory, then it comes over here and we start doing it into the real world.
Yes.
By the time that we think we are close to the final product, we decide, okay, now it's time to ship it over 4 places in the world. We send it to New Delhi, we send it to Sweden, we send it to Moscow, Saudi Arabia. So we take very many different climates to see how they perform there. If there is necessary for maybe changing the solvent because it flashes too fast in Saudi Arabia with the heat, then we need to change the solvent a little bit in fast curing because in Sweden there is too much cold to reach this certain thing. So before we even go with the words, if Marco says to me it does this, this, and this, I will assume he's lying to me. Not that I don't trust him. Of course, there's a certain amount of trust that I have for him, but I'm a very untrustworthy guy. I don't trust people very much.
You're critical.
Yes, because I'm scared for the things that I say. And everything I say, and people can vouch for me when I do trainings, I do the trainings live. That's why I don't spend too much time on social media, but I'm more on the way traveling to show the people, look, this is what I state. This is what's happening here now.
Exactly.
And then I let them do it themselves, and we show, and I prove what we say. And I never would take, people know this, that if I say, if Cupido says 12 months on the bottle duration.
Your spray sealant.
Our spray sealant Cupido says 12 months. I can tell you my very best achievement is 9. And I was doing everything right, and then of course no topping products, because then we change the entire, you add something.
That's a whole topic in itself.
That's a topic by itself. But it's same for me for the ceramics. I don't put topping products on it. There's the videos where you see me have a hood in 16 different sections where I show this is the performance now. I don't state weeks, I state kilometers. I got to drive from here to my house, it's 966 kilometers. I drive back and forth. I don't wash the car. My Audi is standing outside for the last 4 weeks after a long drive. When I come home, by a standing still car, I will see what has happened with the Audi. I'm not going to drive it anymore. I'm just going to leave it standing to see what that test is going to perform. How is a stationary car suffering from the weather influences without being driven? So there's no water during the rain, might generate more self-cleaning effect. So before statements like industry disrupting, and I come back to the words that I said about breaking the ceramic world. We are a little bit more reserved because we need to ensure 100,000% before we launch that something like this never ever happens.
And the fact of the matter is, if you really listen to what was said in that second video, with the interview with Pan and the CEO by Cerakote, you will hear Pan say and listen. Again, I don't hate Pan, but that one was, I don't understand how you can do it that way in a business relationship, because the first video by Cerakote was, and Pan said that, credits to him for that, it was sponsored. Cerakote sponsored that video. So there was some form of monetary interest there. He didn't hide that fact. However, in the second video, Pan, as a suggestion to the CEO, said, well, maybe you should send those coatings out to us, influencers and testers, so we can test it before it is released and before we do our videos. Seriously? You just admitted that the first video you did, I would go as far as saying it was light or it was far-fetched, because again, he created the impression that he will stand behind that product and everything he said is the truth. He later, and in the first podcast with the 4 other guys, he already tried to rephrase it. Yeah, well, at first initial impression, our first initial impression was all positive, but of course we didn't have the long-term experience. If you don't have the long-term experience with a ceramic coating, you don't go out and make a video claiming it is industry disruptive and durable and all the other stuff. You don't do that.
It's just words.
How can you do that?
It's the same if you do it. Let's say the example that you take this, well, maybe I jumped too much ahead, but say you have heard this from this highly credible person that has been respected for his opinion
has
about
a million followers, has a quadruple billion views.
You take his words, you buy that stuff, and you put it on a customer's car. You exactly repeat. You repeat the words. So the CEO repeats the words to Pan. Pan repeats the words on his video, and this guy, the detailer, is going to repeat these words to his customer. The customer is going to be pissed with all the promises that have been made. After 2 weeks, it starts to die on the side.
I haven't thought about that. That's
and then you have to. And who's going to get blamed? The customer? Is he going to blame Pam because Pam said that, or the CEO said it? No, the detailer.
No, exactly.
He's going to maybe lose a valued customer that has been coming to him for years. He's being very disappointed. He feels he's been ripped off. One probably wants his money back. Is probably going to write a review. And like we say, you can do 100 cars. 99 of them are absolutely perfect. And everybody seems to remember the one that went wrong.
Of course. It's the same with restaurants. Of course.
I've been there. I have experienced it myself. And that's why Labo can say whatever they want. As soon as I confirm in the slightest vicinity that they are close to what they are saying, then I will repeat it, but then based out of my own experience.
Yes.
Because I know that different paints behave differently. If we state the duration on a Japanese soft paint can be half of a German hard paint. Yeah. Just by the base of the paint hardness could the duration be in between. Yeah. And that's really...
I think that's the main issue here, because right now, I think the public perception is that Cerakote screwed up. I personally think Pan screwed up based on just that first video, just blindly repeating what the manufacturer claims.
Definitely
without the personal experience behind it.
I don't think consciously, but maybe subconsciously.
Maybe subconsciously.
By a slip of the tongue, by a Freudian slip maybe. Something that's rolled out of the mouth without even knowing, I don't even remember what I've said in all these videos. It might be even say that I say 2 different things in 2 different videos.
Absolutely.
Just because I think of something else on that spot as well. So videos is not something that you can hold yourself accountable for, but before you put the information in, please confirm. Please confirm, because manufacturers live simply from the sales.
Yes.
And there's no law, there's no firing squad for breaking the promise of the duration. So if you say 10 years and it's only 6, nobody's going to get sued because they are allowed to say it.
Exactly.
And they built the marketing around it to make you buy the product, and then in reality you find out it's not that. But it's about the people that you disappoint, or the people, maybe you get disappointed yourself. Maybe you're a weekend warrior that still has a paper route and makes $100 a month, and it buys for $100 a ceramic coating from his paper route to find out that he's been ripped off. Is in this world where truth is becoming more and more far away and lies are becoming more common from social media to the reality.
And again, we're not saying Pan was lying intentionally.
No, definitely, no.
And maybe he has trouble seeing it himself. However, when he would... Let's just do that, Pan, as a suggestion, if you're listening to that. Take that first video you did and just cut out those 2 parts where you say it's industry disruptive, and go to the second video where you accuse the CEO of saying it was industry disruptive. And then cut out, again, in the first video, the part where you say you can stand behind the product, it does that, and that, and that. And then in the second video, you suggest to the CEO, well, maybe you should send out these bottles in advance. If you take just those 2 scenes, cut them directly after each other, I think then everyone will see what the issue here is.
And the watering down statement was one that hit
we
me.
Didn't even talk about that.
That was the one that had hit me really. That we as Labo it's very difficult to compare our ceramics to anything else because we have no PFAS in it.
Yeah.
And if you take PFAS out, there's a completely new challenge that,
Yes.
that exists to make it bead like a PFAS coating.
Absolutely.
Anything with PFAS in it beads like crazy. If you put liquid PFAS PFOA on the car, it will bead forever. It will never get wet again. In fact, I believe if it's PFAS, it will stop, the drop will stop before the hood and just, it's not hydrophobic, it's hydro-freaking terrifying. Really.
Yeah.
And making a ceramic without that is a different world. So,
Yes.
of course, we compare them against the competitors, even though they have this stuff. But we try to get in the vicinity of what they perform and to outlast them in duration without using that. So, you know, for ceramics, and then say that you are watering down, literally that everybody else is watering down.
I mean, just from a business perspective, you are a raw ingredients manufacturer, and you, through a YouTuber who repeats what you obviously said, because I don't think Pat made that up, you accuse your own customers of watering down your own coatings.
Yeah.
Just from a business perspective, that's, let's say, questionable.
Yeah, but those watered down ones didn't do curing issues and
They
died on the
don't
side
have
of the
curing issues.
So then the statement gets like a shotgun back in your face.
I mean, to the listeners and the viewers, I hope you understand why we are so critical about that whole Cerakote thing and why we call it a Cerakote disaster. Because maybe to sum it up, for both of us, it is a schoolbook example of a PR disaster, of how you should not do things in terms of influencer marketing, maybe online marketing, how to put out claims which are not yet fully tested. It's a schoolbook example of how not to do it and how a huge backlash can come out of that.
I would say if they change this whole situation, could now maybe turn into, because it's thanks to the people that are using this products, thanks for the YouTubers that they made this podcast, this gathering, this meeting with each other to discuss this, because when customers become critical and start looking a little bit hesitant to the promises that are being made, they will force manufacturers to upgrade their game, to get better products, fast curing, easy to apply, better durability without the entire marketing. Because as soon as people start to prick through the shiny bottle and the nice labeling and actually look what's inside, what's doing on the actual vehicle it's been put on. Because in the end, if the ceramic is very good, it doesn't matter if the bottle is shiny or pink. It does not matter if the packaging looks beautiful or not. The car's not going to beat faster or harder from the packaging or the marketing.
No.
It's the actual user that's going to make it. So to become critical is actually forcing manufacturers just like us to take it to another level and try to over-exceed this. And if they really want to turn this into a bonus, they should have said, we think we finalized an industry-disruptive coating. This is that product. We are going to send it
please
over.
test it.
We are going to send it all over the place.
Yep.
And you are going to test it in California, San Diego, Milwaukee, in Florida, in Pocatello.
Yeah.
And I will take all that feedback and see it's performing good there, bad there, bad there.
Yes.
Sea climate, dusty climate, winter, snow, salt. Take that to each other, revise it, put those people that helped you, give the detailers the credit that helped you create a better product, as that we try to do with all the detailers that help us. And then take that feedback, remake the product, send it out again, finalize it, confirm that you made it well, and then say, ladies and gentlemen, with the help of all these industry people, we made the industry disrupting coating for only $30.
Exactly. And I mean, that's the topic of this podcast. It's called Veritas, Truth. And our main goal is to try to turn something bad, controversial, into something positive. And you know what? I think, and in order to be constructive to Pan, I think with the inclusion of one small collection of words, the whole first video would not have been as bad as it is. If he would have said, the manufacturer thinks or says it is industry disruptive, we would not have this discussion.
Yeah.
Just with those few words. Yeah. If you sell it as it is you that says it is industry disruptive, then there's an issue. And I honestly think Cerakote, I have no doubt about it, Cerakote will come up with a second version, a better coating. It will perform better. Definitely. The only issue we are talking about right now is putting out claims which are not yet fully tested, which are a bit bold. or too bold. They should not have said it is industry disruptive.
Yeah,
that's just...
if Pan said, they said that, or we think that this is going to be an industry
totally different story.
Totally different. And we, as a manufacturer, are definitely going to take a lesson from this. But because for this drama happened last year, I already got my ass kicked about too much hyping for something that may or not come out. Of course, I want to show what we are doing here, in which development we are, but it's very easy to see a mind running on its own and said, oh, Reggy is already doing a new ceramic coating, and then they already start and they bother our importers. When is that coming? When is that coming? And because just I said I'm working on something new, and then word gets around fast.
Yeah, exactly. And you need to be a little bit more careful. And it is so easy for you as a product manager, for the lab guys to say, yeah, well, it was marketing. It's the marketing's fault. No, it's your fault as a company. Because if you say it was the marketing's fault, then you as a company have failed. Yeah, it's not only the marketing guys.
If you have an external marketing company that you hired, you can blame them. But we have internal marketing.
Even then, it's you, the manufacturer. Show a little bit more integrity, I would say. Yeah. Don't put out, and don't say, all the other guys are doing it, so it's okay if we do it. No. Show a little bit more integrity. Have your own set level of integrity that you want to reach. Don't think you can win this game in this detailing industry by putting out silly claims. Give us good products. That's all it is.
I'm going to throw one thing out, because that was also what I was thinking about. If I look at the east part of the world, where you have Alibaba and all these shops where you can also buy white label, private label ceramic coatings with similar price ranges, similar statements. I wonder if something from that region that has been private labeled and only marketed and nobody knows what's inside was disappointing for that amount of money. I don't think it would stir up so much headway, because people expect more for something like that. But I think because of the promise of the manufacturer, people got pre-hyped, as I'm also responsible for what I did last year, pre-hyped for something that in the end was very disappointing. I'm sorry, that cannot state very disappointing, but stated that a part of the people that used it were disappointed about the durability and the performance of the product.
You know, from a marketing perspective, multipliers are good. Influencers, YouTubers, testers, they are multipliers in your marketing activities. Yep. And I think what happened here at the end is they used too much multipliers at the end, which caused that huge backlash. Yep. They started as a company that put out good products. They maybe did a good product, but then they used a multiplier by saying it is industry disruptive, which is of course catchy and will create headlines. That was the first multiplier. Then they added the second multiplier, which is Pan, the biggest, most active, maybe most relevant YouTuber in car care there is. And I think that created the backlash. Leave out Pan of that whole story, not that huge of a backlash. No. Leave that one statement, industry disruptive, out of it, not a huge backlash. Exactly. Add those simple words we just said, we think it is, not that huge of a backlash. No. It's a story of using too many multipliers in a wrong way.
It's for me as well. There's a very limited group of detailers that I ask to test stuff. Marco has his own group, Fabio has his own group, I have my own group, and those guys are brutally honest. They will never state stuff like, oh, it smells fantastic, or feeling this, feeling that. No, they will go and find that thing that it's going to destroy, or that where it's not eligible for. They will do it on stuff, and they will say to me, listen, man, it works perfectly on paint, but oh my God, if you get the overspray on the windshield, it's an absolute nightmare. Please change, please do this. And those are the ones that I need. That's the feedback that I need. Because I get 1,000 requests of, oh yeah, well, I'd love to test it for you, but I always get the wrong things that I want. Always smell, feeling, gloss. Yet that's initially what the product was made for, and of course we will not let it smell like shit, but we are looking for the wrongs, not the rights, the wrongs.
Yeah, and to maybe sum it up and look at it from an objective, factual point of view, coatings which are easy, quick to apply, fast curing, well beading initially, glossy looking, because I don't think it actually adds gloss, it is glossy looking, and is slick. I can tell you from my head on the get-go about at least 10 coatings which can do exactly that.
Absolutely.
That is not industry disruptive.
No, that's absolutely true.
What would have been industry disruptive is if it can do all of that and is durable. because that's a topic I personally talk a whole lot on our channel and in the English groups I'm present. Compromises. All detailing products are compromised. You have very strong pre-washes, which are extremely strong and good cleaning, but to make them safe at the same time, that's hard. It's a compromise, and especially with protective products. You always have a compromise between quick, easy installation and durability.
Absolutely.
Or gloss slickness and durability. You
Glitch
cannot
out
create a product that has it all.
Nope.
And when I saw and heard this coating is quick, easy to apply, glossy, slick, and hydrophobic, I, in my head, already knew durability-wise, it will be different. If they would have been successful in creating that, it would have been industry disruptive.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm going to throw something out there for the viewers or for the listeners. If you have a new ceramic coating, you're very interested or very curious what it's all about, I can teach you a secret trick that I always use for myself to see what's inside. I take a small cap or whatever, I pour some coating in it, and I let it evaporate. And if I maybe do 1 milliliter of product, I take a pipette, I put it in, and I see how much ingredient is after. So with some ceramics, they are physical, they turn into a glass. Some will turn into white powder.
Yeah.
And that will also get you an indicator when we talk about ceramic coating, we should actually talk about something that is not removable by normal washing.
Yeah.
Let's say it
so
like
there
that.
should be some form of a consistent enclosed film, however hard it is.
However you do it.
Yeah.
And there are many, many ways to do it. And in the future, we will see many different ways because every single month, some chemist around the world finds out a new particle or a new combination or a new molecule to link to an existing molecule that could end up into an industry disruptive coating.
Could.
Yeah.
Perfectly possible. But I think that one by Cerakote, at the end of the day, they didn't lie. They did something industry disruptive.
Yes.
But I don't think it was in the way they wanted or expected.
No, but I thank for the situation that is here, because instead of saying, haha, this is nice for you, no. We could make the same mistake without even knowing it.
Any manufacturer could do the same
And
mistake.
a warned person counts for two. Now I take this very much in effect and see what has happened and the amount of carriage and coverage it has been for a $30 bottle of coating. Then I'm now very reserved to say, okay, listen, ladies and gentlemen, before we even thinking about putting a price tag on this product, we need to be 100% for sure.
And I mean, to be constructive, I think we gave enough tips or hints with which the situation could have been prevented.
Yeah.
Just to sum it up and to make it short, choose your words wisely.
Absolutely.
I think it's that what we want to say. Choose
Amen.
your words wisely. Reggie, that was an intense one.
Yeah.
I still can feel the enragement in me. It's calming down now. Thank God we went to lunch before we did that podcast, because with an empty stomach, that would have been even more intense.
Nauseating.
So, name of the podcast is Veritas, Truth. What we will talk about in the next episode will be easily as controversial. Should I tell you the title?
I think is it about
polishing?
Yes.
The title will be, Are You Still Wasting Time with 3-Step Polishing?
Yeah.
That will be an equally good one.
Absolutely.
We will talk about that in the next episode.
Yes, sir.
I hope you enjoyed that one. Please be constructive with us and be as harsh and as critical as we are with us if we talked bullshit in this episode.
Please, if we are wrong, prove it. Please,
let
us know.
Write it in the comments. For the listeners, thanks for listening. For the viewers, thanks for watching. And we hope to see you in the next episode. Ciao.
Ciao.